I calculated the exact moment my son stopped being my son. It was 11:47 a.m. on a Tuesday when he turned the deadbolt on the basement door and told me through the wood that I'd understand someday why this was necessary. Pause. I'm a retired CPA. I've spent 43 years calculating risks, analyzing patterns, and identifying discrepancies in financial statements that would make your head spin. So when my own son imprisoned me in his basement after 3 days of psychological torture, I didn't panic. I didn't scream. I didn't beg. I started documenting. Because the same skills that built my $1.8 million estate, slight pause, they would be the exact skills that would destroy his plan to steal it. My name is Victoria Caine. I'm 67 years old, and 6 weeks ago, I made what I thought was a simple decision. I accepted my son Austin's invitation to visit him and his wife Brianna in Oregon. We'd been distant. Not estranged exactly, but Austin had become busy, harder to reach. Always cutting phone calls short with excuses about work, about his marriage, about needing to go. The son who used to call me every Sunday had become someone I heard from maybe once a month. And every time, I could hear her voice in the background. Brianna. So when Austin called out of nowhere and said, shift to warmer tone, Mom, we really want you to come stay with us for a week. Reconnect, like old times, my heart. I wanted to believe things could be good again. I should have trusted my first instinct when I arrived and saw Brianna's smile at the front door. It didn't reach her eyes. It was the smile I'd seen on opposing counsel during depositions, you know the one. The smile that says, slight edge, I know something you don't, and you're going to hate finding out what it is. But I ignored it. Because I wanted my son back. The first night seemed normal. Awkward, but normal. Brianna dominated the conversation at dinner, talking about their renovations, their careers, their plans. Austin barely spoke, just nodded along like a puppet. But it was day 2 when I started noticing things. The way Brianna would steer every conversation toward my so-called memory issues. I don't have memory issues. I can recite client account numbers from 1987. But she'd say things like, mocking sweet tone, remember, Victoria, we talked about this last month on the phone? We hadn't. I keep records of every call, every single one. The way Austin wouldn't make eye contact with me. Like he was reading from a script someone else had written. The doorbell camera that was pointed just so, not at the front door, but at an angle that captured the guest room window. Darker tone. The fact that my car keys had disappeared from my purse. By day 3, I knew I was in danger. I just didn't know how much danger. Now, before I tell you what happened next, I need you to understand something. Serious, measured. What I'm about to describe isn't a story about a difficult family relationship or a mother-in-law who doesn't get along with her son's wife. This is a story about a calculated con. About gaslighting as a financial strategy, and about what happens when someone who's spent their entire career identifying fraud. Pause becomes the target of one. And here's the part that should terrify anyone watching this who has adult children and assets. What they almost did to me is completely legal in 43 states. So if you have aging parents, if you have a nest egg you've worked decades to build, if you've ever trusted family with your future, you need to hear this, because I promise you, by the end of this story, you'll never look at family dynamics the same way again. Slight pause. Stay with me, because this gets worse before it gets better. But it does get better. Let me take you back to day 3, the day I realized I wasn't a guest. I was a prisoner. 3 months before I found myself locked in a basement, I was living what most people would call a comfortable retirement. My husband Daniel had been gone for 3 years, heart attack, sudden, the kind that makes you realize all those retirement plans you made together were just expensive fantasies. But I'd adjusted. I had my garden, my book club, my volunteer work at the Women's Financial Literacy Center. I had my routine. What I didn't have was my son. Austin and I used to talk every Sunday. For 37 years, that was our thing. Even when he went to college, even when he moved across the country for work, even during his first marriage and divorce, Sunday mornings, 10 a.m. Pacific time, my phone would ring. Then he met Brianna. The calls became every other week, then monthly, then sporadic. And when we did talk, something was off. Austin would sound enthusiastic at first, asking about my health, my activities, but within 5 minutes, I'd hear her voice in the background. Not words, just presence. And Austin would suddenly remember he had somewhere to be. I'm not one of those mothers who hates every woman her son dates. Austin's first wife, Patricia, lovely person. We still exchange Christmas cards. His college girlfriend, Amy, sweet girl, bit flighty, but kind. I didn't interfere. I didn't make demands. But Brianna? I knew something was wrong before I ever met her. It was the way Austin talked about her. Or rather, didn't. When he'd mentioned Patricia, there were stories, funny moments, shared interests, the texture of a real relationship. With Brianna, there were just facts. She works in marketing. She's from California originally. She's helping me focus on my career. Helping him focus. That phrase stuck with me. So when my phone rang on a Thursday evening in late September, Austin's name on the screen, not our usual Sunday slot, I answered with cautious hope. Mom! Hey, I know it's not Sunday, but I wanted to catch you. His voice had that forced brightness I'd started to recognize, the enthusiasm that sounded rehearsed. Austin, honey, is everything all right? Everything's great, actually. Listen, Brianna and I were talking, and we realized it's been way too long since we've seen you. We want you to come visit. Stay with us for a week, maybe more. We've got the space now after the renovations. I pulled the phone away from my ear for a second, checked the caller ID, definitely Austin, chuckle but not amused. You want me to visit? Yeah, we really do. I know I've been distant lately. Work's been crazy, the house projects, just life, you know? But we miss you. I miss you, Mom. And Brianna's really excited to spend time with you, get to know you better. There it was. That feeling I'd spent 43 years in accounting learning to trust. The feeling when numbers don't quite add up. When someone's explanation is too smooth. When you're being sold something. But this wasn't a client. This was my son. When were you thinking? I heard myself ask. How about 3 weeks from now? Early October, weather's still nice here. We can show you around Portland, do some wine tasting. Just reconnect, like old times. Like old times. When was the last time we'd had old times? I should have said no. I should have suggested he visit me instead, on neutral ground. I should have trusted the 43 years of professional instinct that was screaming this was a setup for something. But I'm his mother. And despite everything, the distance, the strange phone calls, the gut feeling that my son had become someone I didn't recognize, I wanted to believe that maybe, just maybe, he genuinely wanted me back in his life. Okay, I said. Let me check my calendar and book a flight. That's great, Mom. Really great. I'll text you our address. And hey, don't worry about a rental car. We'll pick you up from the airport. After we hung up, I sat in my living room for 20 minutes, just staring at my phone. The CPA in me was pulling up red flags like they were reference documents. The mother in me was packing the red flags away in a drawer and buying a plane ticket. You know what's funny about intuition? We talk about it like it's this mystical thing, this gut feeling that can't be explained. But intuition is just pattern recognition your conscious mind hasn't caught up with yet. Your brain sees the pieces, knows they don't fit, and tries to warn you. I saw the pieces. The sudden invitation after months of distance, the too smooth sales pitch. Brianna's name dropped repeatedly like she was the real host and Austin was just her spokesperson. The insistence on picking me up controlling my transportation from minute one. I saw all of it. And I got on that plane anyway. 3 weeks later, I landed at Portland International Airport, collected my luggage, and walked out to the arrivals area where Austin and Brianna were waiting. He looked thinner, tired. She looked like a woman who'd already won something. Brianna's smile was perfect. Pause, darker tone, absolutely perfect. And I smiled back, wheeling my suitcase toward the two people who'd spent the last month preparing a basement to lock me in. The drive from the airport should have been my first real warning. Brianna sat in the passenger seat, twisted around to face me, asking questions that sounded like concern but felt like interrogation. "So Victoria, are you still living alone in that big house? That must be so hard at your age." I was 67, not 90. "I managed just fine," I said. "Of course. I just mean all those stairs. And didn't you mention some dizziness last time we talked?" "We'd never talked. Not once. I don't recall mentioning that." Austin's eyes flicked to the rearview mirror. "Mom, you did, remember? Back in July?" "I kept records of every call. There was no July conversation." "I think you're mistaken, honey." Brianna's hand touched Austin's arm. "See? This is exactly what we were worried about." That night, dinner was overly choreographed. Brianna had made salmon. "I remembered you loved fish, right, Victoria?" Which I'd never said. She dominated conversation, asking about my medications and whether I'd thought about downsizing. Austin barely spoke, just nodded along like a trained dog. My son, who used to debate me on politics and philosophy for hours, was silent. After dinner, Brianna showed me to the guest room. "We put your medications in the bathroom organizer," she said brightly. "Easier for everyone to keep track. I only take a multivitamin and blood pressure medication. I brought them." "Oh, I know, but this way we can help remind you. Austin mentioned you'd been forgetting doses? I hadn't forgotten a dose in 3 years. Day 2 started with my car keys missing from my purse. When I asked Austin about them, he looked uncomfortable. "Oh, I put them in the safe, just for security." "Security from what?" Brianna appeared in the doorway. Sweet voice. "We just thought it'd be easier if we drove you around this week. You don't know the area, and honestly, Victoria, we worry about you driving in unfamiliar places." I'd driven cross-country twice. I navigated Manhattan during rush hour for business. "I'd prefer to have my keys." "Of course. We'll get them for you. Later." She smiled. That smile. That afternoon, I noticed the doorbell camera. Ring brand, expensive model. But the angle was wrong. It captured not the front door approach, but the driveway and, more specifically, the guest room window. I'm not paranoid. I'm observant. I tested something. Went to the guest room, stood by the window, waved slightly, then casually walked past the living room where Austin's laptop sat open. The Ring app was active. My wave had been recorded. Evening of day 2, Brianna brought out paperwork over wine. "So, Victoria, Austin and I found this amazing estate attorney here in Portland. We thought while you're visiting, we could get your documents updated. Make everything easier for Austin when the time comes." When the time comes, pause. Darker, I was 67 and in perfect health. "My estate is already planned, thank you. My attorney in Phoenix handles everything." "Oh, I'm sure he's wonderful, but Oregon has different laws, and wouldn't it be simpler if Austin had power of attorney now, just in case?" Just in case of what exactly? Here's what I understood in that moment. This wasn't a visit. This was an evaluation. Every question about my memory, every mention of my age, every suggestion I needed help, they were building something, a narrative, and I was supposed to be confused enough not to notice. I wasn't confused. I was calculating, and by the end of day 2, I knew exactly what I was dealing with. I just didn't know how far they'd go. I was about to find out. Day 3 started with me making a decision. I walked into the kitchen where Austin and Brianna were having coffee and said, calmly, "I'm going to head home early. This isn't working out." The temperature in the room dropped 20 degrees. Brianna's smile vanished. Her voice came out cold, sharp. "Sit down, Victoria." "Excuse me?" I said sit. Down. Pause. No more sweet marketing voice. This was command. Austin stood up, moved between me and the front door. My son, my baby boy who I'd raised to be kind and gentle, physically blocked my exit. "Mom, you're not thinking clearly. Just, let's talk about this." "There's nothing to talk about, Austin. I want to go home. Move, please." "See?" Brianna looked at Austin. This is exactly what we discussed. The confusion, the paranoia, the sudden, irrational decisions. I'm not confused. I'm leaving. Austin, move. He didn't. His own mother, and he didn't move. Brianna pulled out her phone. I think we need to call Kyle and Daphne. They should hear this. She put it on speaker, dialed. My other children answered Austin's siblings. What followed was clearly rehearsed. Brianna described my erratic behavior, my memory issues, how I'd forgotten entire conversations. Austin confirmed everything, voice wooden, like he was reading from a script. They'd prepared this, probably for weeks. Kyle sounded concerned. Mom, is this true? Are you feeling okay? I'm feeling fine. What's not fine is being held here against my will. Daphne's voice cracked. Mom, nobody's holding you. They're trying to help. Maybe you should see a doctor while you're there? I don't need a doctor. I need my son to get out of my way so I can leave. After the call, I tried a different approach. Went to my room, pulled out my phone to call an Uber. My Uber account had been deactivated, password changed. Email notification, password successfully updated per account owner's request. I hadn't requested anything. Tried to call a regular cab. My phone screen cracked. I looked down and saw Brianna had accidentally knocked it from my hand while trying to bring me water. Oh my God, Victoria, I'm so sorry. You really should be more careful with your things. Austin appeared with packing tape. Here, Mom, let me secure that screen so you don't cut yourself. He took my phone. It went into his pocket. I'll take it to get fixed tomorrow. Tomorrow. Always tomorrow. Give me my phone, Austin. Mom, you're getting agitated. Maybe you should rest on the couch for a while, until you calm down. I am calm. I want my keys and my phone. Now. Brianna stepped closer. You know what I think? I think you need some time to think about how you're behaving, about how you're treating your son who's only trying to help you. That's when I understood the full scope. Pause, measured tone. This wasn't family concern. This was a coordinated attack. They'd hacked my accounts. They'd rehearsed their story with my other children. They'd physically isolated me from escape methods. And I was standing in their house, with no keys, no working phone, no transportation. The CPA part of my brain took over, started documenting mental notes, timeline, evidence, who said what time, what was moved when, because I knew this was about to get worse. That evening, I tried to leave through the back door. Austin grabbed my arm. First violence, his fingers dug in hard enough to bruise. Brianna's voice was ice. For your safety and ours, you need to calm down, Victoria. We have a place where you can do that. They walked me to the basement door and turned the lock. The basement was finished, comfortable even. Carpet, recessed lighting, a daybed with clean linens, small bathroom. That's what made it so much worse. This wasn't improvised. They'd prepared this. The bedding was fresh, but not new. Someone had slept on these sheets before testing, maybe. The lock on the door was recently installed. I could see the fresh paint around the hardware, slightly different shade than the door frame. Details. I cataloged details. Through the door, Brianna's voice. Victoria, I need you to understand something. This isn't punishment. This is protection. I didn't respond. Sat on the bed, controlled my breathing. Panic helps no one. You've been displaying aggressive behavior, she continued. Paranoia, confusion, accusations against people who love you. Do you know what that sounds like? Early dementia, possibly a psychotic break. Pause. She was building a medical record, without a doctor, just her narrative. Austin's voice, quieter. Mom, please, just rest tonight. Tomorrow we'll figure this out. Austin, I kept my voice level. What does she have on you? Silence. Then footsteps retreating, but I'd felt it, that flinch in the silence. She had something on him. Leverage. This wasn't just Brianna's plan. She'd trapped Austin first, and now they were trapping me together. I spent the next hour examining every inch of that basement. The window was small, ground level, but painted shut. Recent paint job. The bathroom had no windows, no external access. The door was solid core. Lock commercial grade. Someone had spent real money on this setup. In the corner, behind some storage boxes, I found the evidence that made my blood freeze. A receipt. Dated 6 weeks ago. Basement renovation supplies, lock installation, bedding, mini fridge. 6 weeks! They'd been planning this since before they called me. Around midnight, the lights went out. Not a power failure, I could hear the upstairs still had electricity. Muffled TV sounds. They controlled the basement lights from outside. Sleep deprivation. Classic interrogation technique. I lay in the dark and let my brain work. Here's what I understood. Measured tone. They needed me confused, compliant, and documented as incompetent. The phone calls with Kyle and Daphne? Establishing a witness timeline. The questions about my memory? Creating a pattern? The medical paperwork Brianna mentioned? Probable conservatorship documents? Conservatorship! The legal mechanism where adult children can control a parent's finances if that parent is declared mentally unfit. I'd seen it in estate planning, sometimes necessary for actual dementia patients, but also a tool for financial abuse. If they could get me declared incompetent, Austin would control my $1.8 million estate. My house, my investments, my late husband's life insurance, everything. The lights came back on at 2 a.m., went off again at 3. This continued until dawn. They wanted me exhausted, disoriented. They wanted me to actually become what they were claiming I was. But I'm 67, not dead, and I've survived 3 corporate audits, 2 recessions, and raising 3 children through their teenage years. Slight humor. I've weaponized exhaustion. Morning came. Brianna brought breakfast eggs, toast, orange juice, all served with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. How are we feeling today, Victoria? Ready to be reasonable? I looked at her. Really looked. I saw a predator who'd done this before. I was certain of it now. This was too smooth, too practiced. It is less than #0. 5S number is greater than. I'm ready to go home, I said calmly. Her smile widened. Soon. Very soon. We just need to make sure you're safe first. The doctor's appointment is scheduled for Friday. 3 days away. Pause. Darker. A doctor she'd chosen, who'd evaluate me after 72 hours of captivity and sleep deprivation. I smiled back. Of course! Whatever you think is best. She looked pleased. Thought I was breaking. Is less than #0. 25S number is greater than. I was planning. Day 4 began with Brianna bringing me breakfast again. Oatmeal, coffee, that practiced smile. Good morning, Victoria. You look better. More rested. I hadn't slept more than 90 minutes total, but I smiled back. I've been thinking about what you said, about getting help. Her eyes lit up. Predators always recognize surrender. I'm so glad. This is what people who love you do, Victoria. We intervene. She sat on the edge of the bed, all fake warmth. The appointment Friday will just be a conversation. Nothing scary. Dr. Pemberton is very kind. I appreciate that. I kept my voice small, compliant. 43 years of negotiating with executives taught me how to play weak when you're actually calculating 17 moves ahead. She patted my hand. I'll bring lunch around noon. Austin wants to come down and talk to you later. After she left, I heard the lock click. But something felt different. The footsteps upstairs were hurried, multiple people moving. Brianna's voice. We need to be there by 1. Traffic's going to be terrible. An opportunity. Around 11:30, a car started in the driveway. I moved to the small basement window, peered through the painted shut glass, Austin's SUV pulling away, both of them inside. I waited 10 minutes, silence upstairs. They'd both left. The window. I'd examined it thoroughly yesterday. Painted shut, yes. Old paint, multiple layers. But the glass itself was standard single pane. And I had my belt-heavy leather with a solid brass buckle Daniel had given me for our 30th anniversary. I wrapped the buckle in a pillowcase to muffle sound, then struck the corner of the window. Small crack. Again. The crack widened. Is less than #0. 25 number is greater than. third strike, the corner section broke away. I worked fast, cleared enough glass to unlock the latch, forced the frame up. It screamed with old paint breaking, but it moved. The opening was small. I'm 5'4" and weigh 120. I fit. Scraped my ribs getting through, felt skin tear, didn't care. I was out. The neighbors. I'd noticed them day one, elderly couple, well-maintained yard, American flag on the porch. I ran across Austin's lawn, rang their doorbell, pressed it 3 times. An older man answered. 70-something, kind eyes, veteran's cap. Yes? I controlled my breathing. Sir, I'm so sorry to bother you. I'm Victoria Caine. I'm visiting my son next door, and there's been a family emergency. May I please use your phone? He saw the blood on my shirt from the window glass. His expression shifted. Are you all right? Do you need... I need a phone, please. His wife appeared behind him. She took one look at me and said, George, get her inside, now. They sat me down, brought water, antiseptic for my cuts. I used their landline to call 911, kept my voice steady, factual. I need a police escort. I've been held against my will at 847 Maple Ridge Drive. I'm at the neighbor's house. I'm not injured seriously, but I need an officer present to collect my belongings and leave safely. The dispatcher asked questions. I answered each one precisely. Time held. By whom? Physical restraint. No, I didn't need an ambulance. Yes, I was certain about the address. George and his wife Martha sat with me. Didn't ask questions, just offered quiet presence. When the police arrived, 2 officers, 1 male, 1 female, I explained the situation in my CPA voice. Calm, detailed, chronological. The female officer, Rodriguez, asked, Do you want to press charges for unlawful imprisonment? I hesitated. Every instinct said yes, but the accountant in me knew something else. If I pressed charges now, I'd show my hand. They'd lawyer up immediately. Evidence would disappear. Not at this time. I just want my belongings and safe transport to a hotel. Rodriguez looked skeptical but nodded. We'll escort you. Austin and Brianna's car pulled up as we walked to their front door. Brianna's face went pale. Austin looked like he might vomit. Officers, thank God you're here, Brianna started. My mother-in-law has been exhibiting concerning behavior. Ma'am, Rodriguez interrupted. We're here to help Miss Caine collect her belongings. Please step aside. I walked into that house, flanked by 2 officers, and gathered my suitcase with shaking hands that I forced steady. Austin stood in the hallway. Mom, please, let me explain. I looked at him, my son, and said quietly, You locked me in a basement, Austin. His face crumbled, but I was already walking out. The hotel room was generic. Beige walls, floral bedspread, air conditioning that hummed too loud. I sat on the bed and stared at my phone, the one Austin had taken to be fixed, that the police made him return. Then I started making calls. First call, my estate attorney, Harold Brennan, 62 years old, sharp as a scalpel, handled my documents for 15 years. Victoria? I wasn't expecting to hear from you until next month. Harold, I need you to tell me about conservatorship law in Oregon. Specifically, how someone would go about having a parent declared incompetent. Silence. Then, what happened? I told him, methodically, the invitation, the gaslighting, the basement, the escape. Harold listened without interrupting lawyer training. When I finished, he said quietly, Victoria, this is a conservatorship setup. I've seen this pattern before. Explain it to me. Adult child claims parent is mentally incompetent. They build a documented history, witnesses, medical concerns, erratic behavior. They petition the court. If granted, they become conservator with full control of finances, medical decisions, living situation. And Victoria, your estate is worth $1.8 million. That's motive. My hands were steady as I took notes. What would they need? Witness testimony from multiple people, medical evaluation showing cognitive decline, evidence of the parent being unable to manage their own affairs. Ideally, they'd want you to seem unstable when you're evaluated. Like being sleep deprived and imprisoned for 72 hours before a doctor's appointment. Harold, pull Austin's calls to your office for the past year. Every inquiry he's made about my estate. I can do that, Victoria. There's something else. He paused. Austin called me 4 months ago. Asked about early distribution from your estate. Whether there was a mechanism for you to transfer assets to him now. I told him no, not without your explicit consent. 4 months. This had been planned for 4 months. Second call, a private investigator. Expensive, recommended by Harold, based in Portland. Her name was Carmen Reeves. Ms. Caine, what do you need? Background check on Brianna Caine, married to my son Austin, and financial records on Austin himself, credit reports, bank accounts, anything you can legally access. I need to know why he needs money badly enough to do this. Timeline? Yesterday. She laughed. I'll have preliminary findings in 48 hours. Carmen called back in 36 hours. What she told me made everything click into place. Austin Caine has gambling debts totaling $240,000. Online poker, sports betting, cryptocurrency speculation. He's been hemorrhaging money for 18 months. 18 months! Right when he met Brianna. There's more, Carmen continued. Brianna Caine, maiden name Whitmore. 2 previous relationships with older men or men with elderly parents. First ended with a $50,000 settlement. Second one, the guy's father transferred $100,000 to his son 6 months before dying. Is less than #0. 25S number is greater than pattern is clear. She's done this before. She's perfected this. And Victoria, your son's boss, Marcus Levine, he and Brianna have been having an affair for 6 months. Photos, texts, hotel receipts. The room tilted. Austin's recent promotion came right after the affair started. Brianna promised Levine access to your money through Austin in exchange for the promotion. I sat in that beige hotel room and felt my son slip away. The gambling, the manipulation, the affair. Brianna hadn't just trapped me. She'd trapped Austin first. Carmen, I need everything. Documentation, photographs, financial records. Airtight. You're building a case? I'm building a detonation. Because they tried to take everything from me. So I was going to take everything from them. Week 1 after the escape, Austin and Brianna went silent. No calls, no texts, no contact. That silence was more terrifying than the basement. It meant they were regrouping. I spent that week working 18-hour days. Carmen delivered her full report, 300 pages. Financial records showing Austin's gambling spiral, bank transfers, casino withdrawals, cryptocurrency losses. My son had destroyed himself one bet at a time. The affair evidence was worse. I saw photos of Brianna and Marcus Levine at restaurants, hotels. I read text messages discussing the investment opportunity apparently. One message from Brianna. Once we have conservatorship, liquidation starts in 6 months. Your promotion buys us time with creditors. They'd planned to sell my house, my investments, everything Daniel and I built. Gone in 6 months. But Carmen's best discovery was the security cameras. Your son has a whole home security system, she explained. Ring cameras, cloud storage, footage stays uploaded for 60 days unless manually deleted. Can you access it? With a warrant, yes. Without one? She paused. Austin used a simple password. His wedding anniversary. That's illegal. Extremely. Which is why I'm going to pretend I didn't do it. But theoretically, if someone accessed that footage, they'd find interesting conversations. The files arrived encrypted. I watched them. Volume low, door locked. September 15th, I watched Brianna lean against the counter. The basement lock gets installed Thursday. We need everything ready before she arrives. Austin, nervous. This feels wrong. She's my mother. She's sitting on almost $2 million while you're drowning. You said you'd do anything. Were you lying? September 22nd, I watched Brianna coach Austin. When we call your siblings, emphasize the memory problems. Be specific. Concerned son, not accusing. I watched Austin practice the lines. Wooden, rehearsed. October 1st, the day before I arrived, I saw Brianna on her phone. Friday appointment is confirmed. Dr. Pemberton understands elderly woman, family concerns, needs evaluation. 3 days of observation should be sufficient for the report we need. They'd planned to keep me in that basement for 3 days minimum. I documented everything. I created a timeline with video timestamps, financial records, witness statements. Harold helped me compile it into a legal brief. By week 2, I had a case that would destroy them. But I wanted more than legal victory. I wanted witnesses. I wanted their masks ripped off in front of people who mattered. That's when I received the email. From briannacaine@gmail.com. Subject, family mediation. Victoria, we've all said things we regret. I've arranged a mediation session with a licensed family therapist. Austin's siblings will be there, as will my parents. Neutral space, professional guidance. Friday at 2 p.m. Please come. Brianna. I read it 3 times, Carmen called. You saw the email? I'm monitoring their inboxes. Victoria, this is a setup. She's invited Kyle, Daphne, her parents, and a mediator she hired. She's going to cement the incompetency narrative. Multiple witnesses watching you be unstable. I know. So you're not going. I smiled. Oh, I'm absolutely going. But I'm bringing my own evidence. Harold agreed to attend as my legal representative. Carmen gave me 3 USB drives complete evidence packages. Friday morning, I dressed carefully. Navy suit, modest jewelry, hair neat. I looked like exactly what I was, a competent, professional woman. In my briefcase, documentation that would end them. Time to detonate. The mediation office was in a professional building downtown, sterile, corporate, designed to feel neutral. I arrived with Harold at exactly 1:55 p.m. Never early enough to seem desperate, never late enough to seem unstable. The receptionist led us to a conference room. I saw them all inside, Austin and Brianna sitting together, Kyle and Daphne across from them, looking uncomfortable. An older couple I recognized from wedding photos, Brianna's parents, Thomas and Alice Whitmore, and a woman in her 50s with a kind smile and a notepad, the mediator. Victoria! The mediator stood. I'm Dr. Ellen Shaw. Thank you so much for coming. This takes courage. I shook her hand firmly. Thank you for facilitating, Dr. Shaw. This is my attorney, Harold Brennan. I watched Brianna's smile falter. She hadn't expected me to bring legal representation. We sat, Harold beside me, briefcase on the table. I folded my hands and waited. Dr. Shaw began with her script about healing, communication, family bonds. I listened politely, watched Austin avoid my eyes, watched Brianna perform concern hand on Austin's arm, sad smile, practiced empathy. So, Dr. Shaw said gently, Brianna has shared with me some concerns about your well-being, Victoria. Perhaps we could start there? Brianna leaned forward. I want to say first, we love you, Victoria. Everything we've done has been out of concern. When you visited us, we noticed things, memory lapses, confusion about conversations we'd had. We got frightened. Kyle shifted in his seat. Mom, is this true? Brianna called me, said you were having episodes. I'd like to hear from Victoria, I said calmly, looking at Dr. Shaw. May I respond? Of course. I opened my briefcase, pulled out a folder. I'm going to tell you all the truth, and then I'm going to prove it. Brianna's face went pale. 3 weeks ago, I received an invitation to visit my son. When I arrived, I noticed immediately that something was wrong. My car keys disappeared, my phone was damaged and confiscated. I was questioned repeatedly about my memory and mental health, which is perfect, by the way. When I attempted to leave on day 3, I was physically restrained and locked in their basement. Daphne gasped. What? That's not... Brianna started. I continued, voice level. I escaped through a basement window and called police. They escorted me to collect my belongings. I have the police report here. I slid it across the table to Dr. Shaw. Austin's face crumbled. Mom, please, you don't understand. I understand perfectly, Austin. You have gambling debts totaling $240,000. I pulled out Carmen's financial report, slid it to Kyle. You've been hemorrhaging money for 18 months. And Brianna here? She saw an opportunity. I pulled out my laptop, set it on the table. This is security footage from your own home cameras, Austin. Would you like me to play it for everyone here? The room went silent. I watched Thomas Whitmore's face harden as he looked at his daughter, watched Alice's hand go to her mouth. The footage shows Brianna and Austin planning my imprisonment, discussing conservatorship, calculating how quickly they could liquidate my $1.8 million estate to pay Austin's debts. I pressed play. Brianna's voice filled the room. Once we have conservatorship, liquidation starts in 6 months. I watched Kyle's expression shift from confusion to horror, watched Daphne start crying, watched Dr. Shaw take notes with a trembling hand. I let 30 seconds play, then paused it. There's more, hours more, but I think you understand now. This is manipulated, Brianna said, voice sharp. All sweetness gone. She's delusional. This is exactly why we needed intervention. Miss Whitmore, Harold's voice cut through. My client also has documentation of your affair with Marcus Levine, Austin's employer. The timeline suggests you exchanged sexual favors and promises of financial access for Austin's promotion. Thomas stood up, walked out. Alice followed, silent condemnation. I wasn't done. I pulled out the second USB drive. There's more. Brianna's hands were shaking. Austin looked like he might vomit. Kyle and Daphne sat frozen, staring at their brother. Brianna Whitmore has done this before, I said. I slid printed documents across the table. 2 previous relationships with men whose parents had significant estates. The first ended with a $50,000 settlement after she claimed emotional distress. The second resulted in a $100,000 transfer from an elderly father to his son 6 months before the father's death. Dr. Shaw was writing furiously. Miss Caine, I think we should... Let her finish, Kyle said. His voice was ice. I looked at Austin. Really looked at him. You met her at a gambling recovery meeting? She was volunteering. She identified you as vulnerable, learned about your debts, learned about my estate, and she crafted a plan. That's not... Austin's voice cracked. She encouraged you to make one last big score to get clean. She introduced you to Marcus Levine. She began an affair with him while married to you, Austin. She promised him access to my money in exchange for your promotion. Better income, better credit, more believable when you petitioned for conservatorship. I played another video clip. Brianna and Marcus at a restaurant, kissing. The timestamp, 2 weeks ago. Austin made a sound like a wounded animal. The basement lock was installed 6 weeks before I arrived, I continued. The bedding purchased. The doctor's appointment scheduled. You planned to keep me imprisoned for 3 days, sleep-deprived and disoriented, before a psychiatric evaluation that would declare me incompetent. Dr. Pemberton was already prepared to write the report you needed. Daphne was sobbing. Kyle had his head in his hands. Brianna stood up. You bitter, vindictive woman. Austin was trying to help you, and you twisted into... Sit down, Harold said quietly. Or I call the police right now and we press charges for kidnapping, elder abuse, and conspiracy to commit fraud. She sat. I turned to Dr. Shaw. You're a mandatory reporter, correct? Yes. Then you're required to report suspected elder abuse to Adult Protective Services. I'm making that formal complaint now. I'm also filing a restraining order against Austin Caine and Brianna Caine. They are not to contact me, approach my property, or make any inquiries about my estate. I stood, collected my laptop. Harold will provide you with copies of all evidence for your report, Dr. Shaw. Austin finally looked at me. Mom, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. She said it would be easy, that you'd never know, that we'd take care of you. You locked me in a basement, Austin. His face crumpled completely. I walked to the door, turned back. Kyle, Daphne, we'll talk later. You're not responsible for your brother's choices. As I left, I heard Brianna's voice behind me, desperate now. Austin, this is your fault. You told me she was declining. You said she'd never fight back. The last thing I heard was Austin saying, very quietly, stop. Just stop. I walked out of that building into Portland sunshine. My son was gone, but I'd saved myself. And maybe, just maybe, I'd save the next target too. 3 months later, I sat in my Phoenix living room with a cup of coffee and read the final legal documents. Austin and Brianna's divorce was finalized. She'd left him the day after the mediation, once it became clear there'd be no money. Predators don't stay when the prey escapes. Marcus Levine had been fired. The affair, the promotion scheme, all of it documented and reported to his company's ethics board. His career was over. Brianna was under investigation by Adult Protective Services in 3 states. Her previous settlements were being re-examined. I'd made sure of that. Austin was in treatment, inpatient gambling addiction facility, court-mandated as part of his plea agreement. He'd pled guilty to unlawful restraint and elder abuse reduced charges in exchange for cooperation and restitution. He'd serve no jail time, but he'd have a record, and he was completely disinherited. My estate now went to Kyle and Daphne equally, with ironclad protections, multiple trustees, regular audits, mental competency assessments from independent physicians every year. No one would ever do this to me again. Kyle had called yesterday. Mom, Austin asked if he could write you a letter. After treatment, he wants to apologize. What did you tell him? That I'd ask you. I'd thought about it all night. Tell him I'll read it, but I won't respond. Not yet. Maybe not ever. That's fair, Kyle said quietly. Mom, I'm so sorry I didn't see it. On that phone call, when Brianna was describing your behavior, I just believed... Kyle, you believed your brother. That's not a character flaw. That's family. But it still hurt. The hardest part wasn't the legal aftermath or the financial restructuring. It was sitting in my garden, looking at photos of Austin as a child, trying to reconcile that little boy with the man who locked me in a basement. I'd lost my son, maybe temporarily, maybe forever. That grief sat in my chest like a stone. But I'd saved my life, my autonomy, my dignity, and I'd documented everything so that other families might recognize the warning signs. Last week, I received a letter, not from Austin, from a woman in California named Diane. She'd heard my story through her attorney who knew Harold. Dear Miss Caine, I'm writing to thank you. 3 weeks ago, my daughter and her husband invited me to move in with them. I was excited until I read about your case. Then I noticed things. The questions about my memory, the suggestions I sell my house, the basement they just renovated. I confronted them with your story. They confessed. I'm safe now because you spoke up. Thank you for your courage. I cried reading that letter. Not sad tears, relief, purpose. Because here's what I learned. Evil relies on silence. Predators like Brianna count on shame keeping victims quiet. They count on family loyalty preventing exposure. I refuse to be silent. If you're watching this and something feels wrong with how your family treats, you trust that feeling. If you have aging parents and notice sudden financial questions, personality changes in your siblings, pressure to sign documents, investigate. And if you're trapped like I was, document everything. Stay calm, survive, escape, then burn their lies down with truth. Would you have gone to that mediation? At what point is a parent-child relationship beyond repair? What would you do if you suspected this was happening to someone you love? My name is Victoria Caine. I'm 67 years old. I survived my son's attempt to steal my life, and I'm still here.